What's up, and welcome back to another kind of funny screencast. This time to episode 4 of HBO Max's and DC's Peacemaker. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes, and I'm joined by the Big Daddy himself, Greg Miller.
Woo woo!
Whoa, whoa. The big dog, Kevin Coelho.
What's up, man?
And the producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Man, I tell you what, I love freedom.
Yeah, you do. That's the one thing I always talk about when Nick Scarpino comes up. Freedom. Of course, this is Kind of Funny Screencast, where each and every week we get together to talk about the latest in TV and movies and movie trailers. We react to all of them. You can find the Moon Knight trailer if you're watching this. We reacted to it. You can go check that out. And also Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett. We're doing weekly reactions to each and every episode as they air, just like we're doing to this show, Peacemaker, that you can find over on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to get it as a podcast, just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Screencast, and we'll be right there for you. If you wanted to get the show ad-free, and if you wanted to watch live as we record it, you got to go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like our Patreon producers, Molecule, James Davis Makes, and Pranksy have all done. We appreciate you all so very, very much. If you want to write into this show, you got to go to kindoffunny.com/screencast, write in your questions, theories, and thoughts, just like someone named Greg Miller did that just said 2 avocados. I don't know what that's in reference to, but
yeah, you do.
My boys Nick and Kevin do.
So yeah, you can kindoffunny.com/screencast to write in your productive comments, questions, theories, etc., etc. But without further ado, let's get into it. Episode 4 of Peacemaker. Earlier in the last episode, I guess we only did one because it was episodes 1 through 3 first. I said that every episode was written and directed by James Gunn. That is not true. Every episode is written by James Gunn. James Gunn directed most of the episodes of the season. He directed 1 through 3 and did not direct this one. So there is that. There is that. But let's talk about it. Episode 4, Greg Miller.
Yeah, I was gonna actually start where you started. The fact that when it pops up and it was directed not by James Gunn, I was like, okay. Like I started to think and wonder, like, would this not feel the same? Would it not look the same? Blah blah blah. Those fears I came to find were unfounded, right? Like, I think it's another great episode. I think it's another hilarious episode, right? Like, my one critique on the show, hold on, I always forget the character's name, is that I don't vibe with their boss, Murn. Like, Murn, I don't like, it's not the actor, it's not the performance, it's just the way they've put him in there makes him feel like knockoff Amanda Waller. Like, I meant to bring this up with episode 1, but I never did. When they start episode 1 and he's introduced, I was like, oh, they couldn't afford Viola Davis, so this is going to be Amanda Waller. And then, of course, she gets that little cameo at the end talking to her daughter. And again, it's like, oh, they got a cameo because they can't afford Viola Davis. I got it. And it's fine, but he even this is going to sound goofy considering the last scene, but he doesn't differentiate himself enough from Amanda Waller, if that makes sense. Like, granted, obviously, he's a butterfly at the end. They're going to go, we're about to go to a different territory with him. But throughout the rest of it, he's still so much Waller-like that I'm just like, eh. And I know he's funnier than that. He has a different range. It's just the one thing for me where I'm like, I just don't like this. I wish they had gone a completely different direction with this.
Just to interject there, I do totally feel where you're coming from. I like, though, that he has beef with Waller. Like, sure. And I think that is something that we'll have to see the end of the show and like where it goes with it. But I like the idea that he is just another Waller, but he doesn't like Waller, doesn't like the way she does things, especially now with this reveal. Who the hell knows where it's going? But
sure,
I'm willing to give them the benefit of like letting them tell the story throughout. But like, I do agree with you that so far it does kind of seem like, okay, like this is a character we've seen before.
Yeah. But again, that's like the most minor complaint for the show, I think, overall. And this episode I thought was great. And I think it was a great episode for Vigilante. Like, I really liked him throughout the entire way, right? Like, I enjoyed, obviously, the fallout from his toe. I enjoyed him, being upset with Peacemaker on his toe. I really loved everything with him and Tasty outside of the thing. Vigilante? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the way that escalated and the way he tried to get around
it. The part later, she's like, that was Vigilante? And he's like, shut up.
And then, how he, like, getting him into jail, like, is such a goofy idea. But then to get him in there and be like, oh, right, the guy can fight. Like, I forgot about that part. He fucks people up and was awesome there. And I like that. And then I really, it's such an interesting arc for him just in the episode of being, hurt, getting in there, and you're like, what are you doing? Being a badass in there, and then getting picked up in the car by Holstrom or whatever, hardcore, and getting in the car and being like, having this legit moment of sadness for him and sympathy from her, right? Of like, I think I've made things worse.
I
And
think
he's
I
like
just made things
crying. I was like,
worse.
oh, like
Yeah.
that hit me. And it's like, man, like for a character whose my critique number in episode 1 was like, I didn't like how Adrian acted when they got introduced. And then throughout it was just like, all right, he's vigilante. I don't know what it is. I thought it was a great episode for him.
Kevin.
I also really enjoyed it. I thought like the ending of this episode like left me being like, I can't believe I'm so invested in this story. Like I would be more than happy to just be there for the laughs, but like I care now, and it's crazy to like I never thought I'd be into a DC show and like be like, oh man, I really want to find out what the hell's going on with these butterflies.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all over the place. So it's the humor's so good. I love Vigilante so much. Everything he does, the moments, it's so interesting. The moments where he like is just kind of like no emotion, you know, where he's just like kind of a zombie walking around. Like, I'm gonna go do this thing. I'm gonna go grab this thing and break the window so that I get arrested and I can kill the dad. And it's like it's interesting to also see like Waller's daughter slowly start moving the pieces around and being like, oh, Vigilante will fix this problem if I just, you know, edge him a little bit. So yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool to see like the characters growing and stuff. Like, cause all of that is mixed in so well.
Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving this show. This is definitely another episode for me where I immediately wanted to watch the next episode and then the next episode after that, which I think is just the mark of a really fun show. There's a moment in this where John Cena jumps out the window of their piece of shit headquarters, the second story, and lands
superhero landing.
It lands like a superhero, and then walks into just a random parking lot and goes, "Rematch, motherfucker!" And then Judo Master kicks his ass again, and that whole sequence to me is just indicative of what this is. It's fun. There's of course the little moment where he's like, "They're not what you think," and then of course Leota shoots him, fulfilling her sort of like, a promise to Harcourt that she'd be there and be worth it. And then that just the dialogue where he's like, "He'll be fine. He's a martial arts master."
He breathes again. Yeah, he's moved his kidney.
He'll just move his liver up into his heart's place, and it'll take over for him. And she's like, "That literally doesn't happen." And then he starts breathing, and you're like, "God, I love this show."
It's happened a couple of times.
And then I love, and then, you know, so you have moments like that, but then you also have the incredible, I thought, really good performance by John Cena, where he's remembering this horrible shit his dad put him through, and what happened to his brother, and he's crying on the floor as he's listening to the rock music after having just smoked out a butterfly, and then Eagly's like playing with it, and it's just like the show. I like it because the show is rated R and it uses the full spectrum of what rated R means, right? It's not just raunchy. There's not just sexuality in it. There's the actual really hard-hitting kind of drama in this as well. And specifically this episode. To go back to something that Greg said for the Murn's character, though, I liked last week's episode where he like tried to relate to Dyedbeard, where he's like, I'm trying to grow as a human being and express emotions. Like, you've never expressed the fact that you're cold. You've never told anyone you're cold before, or chilly, whatever it is. He's like, yeah. So and you see that, but I'm curious now with him as the leader of this thing, and he actually legitimately feels like you feel that he's legitimately trying to kill these butterflies. That what is the score here now that we know that he's one of them?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm with you guys. I'm still loving this show, and I'm with Kevin in the sense that I can't believe that I am intrigued in the story as much as I am. I'm not surprised I'm into the jokes as much as I am, but dude, credit to them. Like, I love how 2 episodes in now of Screencast, like, we're just quoting jokes left and right and like just throwing things out there because there's so much to love and laugh at. And like, so many of the jokes are earned not just because they make us laugh, but because they're building a story and a narrative and character, which is my favorite thing for any of these superhero things. But even just like the dumb little character moments like Judo Master, what Nick's talking about, John Cena jumping out that window, doing one of the dopest superhero landings I've ever seen. Like, it was really impressive. And then he comes out and it's like this 8-bit Western music playing, like total video game fight thing. And it's like a tumbleweed goes by, but it's a potato chip bag. And all the jokes they've had with Judo Master, like setting this up with the hot Cheetos,
it's
the
a good
potato
fight.
chips. Like, yeah, it's like super fun to watch. And like the idea of John Cena, who I spent 50 minutes last week talking about how funny just him being the way he looks is, and they just use that to such great extents. That combined with this hulking man fighting a 2-foot tall dude, it's
He's like
so fucking funny, but it's also a good fight. that is such a hard balance to like hit, and they do it really well in this show where it is about telling a story, it's about making us laugh, and it's about being a superhero thing. It's about being in the DC universe, and I think they balance that in a way that shouldn't work at all, but it absolutely does. And I can't wait. The end of this episode, I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, and I cared about the butterfly stuff. Now I really want to know what the hell's going on with it.
Well, that's the thing. We talked about, Nick talked about the spectrum. You're talking about how it's funny. It's just, I didn't expect there to be so much heart in it. You know what I mean? When we watched Suicide Squad, I didn't leave thinking Peacemaker had this much heart to him and depth to him. And obviously James Gunn is incredibly talented, but the fact that, yeah, like at the end that there's no more room or there's no more home in my house of pain or whatever, the song they're playing over his like alcohol, mental breakdown, remembering it looks like the death of his brother, like murdering somebody, and then like even Eagly and the butterfly rolling up to him, like that's such a goofy visual that like actually hits, because me as a viewer, I'm watching it being like, I want someone to hug him, right? I want him to listen to Tasty when she's like, no, your dad was a bad person, and like you don't have to listen to blah blah blah. But in that same breath, right, like the quote I wrote down from the beginning of the show, right, when he goes to talk to his dad, I'm no rat, but first chance I get, I'm spilling everything I got. Like that, like that is like,
you are a rat.
Compare yourself to a little cock. Like it's such a spectrum of a show.
I also love the conflict with the old man. Every time he goes to the house, the guy's just there fucking with him, and I love it's well-worn territory, obviously, but to hear a DC comic character live action be like Batman is a pussy and like needs to start killing people. He's like, think about all the people that died because he let that clown out of prison, and just having that be like a quick reality moment where you're like, oh, in this world somewhere, Batman exists and Superman exists, and this is that same world where John Cena's running around in white underwear, just completely half naked. I love this show. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, like the music cues, right? Again, we were talking about it last week. I think this episode it does it the best that the show's done so far, and it's already done it great. But using music to not only have a fun moment, not only have a cultural touchstone for us to be like, oh, it's that song, but to kind of use the song and its meaning and its not just the meaning of the lyrics, but like the feeling of the music itself to kind of back up the entire storytelling and what they're trying to do here, and using it for, again, everything we're talking about of the comedic effects, character moments, and just kind of what the show is. But there was the montage towards the end where we see John Cena like really having this really dark moment, but then also kind of cycling through all the different characters in the show. And I think that this episode really kind of solidified for me leveling up the entire cast of characters in that montage where I realized I'm not waiting to go back to any one character. Like I am invested in all of you in whatever way. I want to know what it is that this character is feeling at this moment. Like seeing like Hardcourt or whatever in the car by herself and like dealing with it at that bar when he goes to see her, but then also just going through and Waller's daughter, and like everyone's going through stuff that we're only 4 episodes into this, which I guess is 4 hours of content. Like that is
it's a lot,
fair amount of time, but I think they're making good use of the time to make us actually care in all the elements together.
It's true. I mean, and that's spot on, right? That's one of the things that we thought about when we first saw this. We're like, wait, they're taking the team from Suicide Squad that we really didn't know too much about, that seem all like secondary characters, and those are going to be the real the leads.
They
in this
were
show.
Very minor characters.
Oh
in
yeah,
Suicide
we got
Squad,
what, like how many lines did we get from any of them in Suicide Squad? Maybe like a handful, right? Not too many. But the fact that we actually, you're right, Tim. They could go off and tell even the Murn story, where we're like, I want to know what's going on with him, and he might be. I mean, they can tell fascinating stories to any of these people. I feel like I know them, and I feel like I want their adventures to continue. And I think a good part of that also is the fact that John Cena is not an overly like overpowered character. Like Peacemaker is sort of just his specialty is that he's kind of a psychopath, and not even so much so here. So it gives them a lot more room to play with as far as the character dynamics and like what they bring to the table. But I also like Vigilante. So Murn I was fine with. Vigilante was the character that I was like, I think this character might start like wearing a little thinly for me. But this episode, I think he kind of turned around when he picks up the trash can and he has to like pull it over to the window and then just throws it in. And like, what are you doing? I don't have to tell you that.
I mean, dude, that scene is, I think, another perfect example of this show working in spite of itself, where that same joke wouldn't be funny in another show and we'd be complaining like, oh, that scene went on too long. But James Gunn's humor just kind of is so understood and I think well written enough, like in this case, where seeing Vigilante grab the trash can and like struggle to drag it in this like just surrounded by cops, and the cops don't even care about him because he's just this like scrawny dude.
His
Like
idiot, yeah.
it plays out in such a funny way that like I think it perfectly lasts its welcome, where by
Yeah.
the time he throws it at the thing and it doesn't break through and it just kind of bounces off again. Last week it was the John Cena being thrown through the wall during the fight. This was that moment for me where we all saw that coming, but somehow it was still funnier than I even expected it to be.
It was. And I mean, I was kind of stupid going into it. I was like, is he trying to break into the prison? But then obviously the second he hit the ground, I was like, oh, he's trying to get arrested so he can just walk into this holding facility.
I'm with you though.
And then I was like, well, I mean, it was smart, right? And then the idea of, I mean, that sit down with the white supremacists and him just fucking like no bullshit, just handing them their asses at the end of it.
Bullshit, yeah.
Just like what a powerful and crazy ass scene to have just in the smack dab in the middle of your episode, and then of course coming out and being like, that was, I think I may have made things worse, and realizing that he just kind of probably drove the final nail in the coffin between his only friend really and his friend's father. And again, shout out to Robert Patrick, right? Robert Patrick, who's just a great bad guy. He's just a
fantastic
piece of shit.
What a great old racist.
Yeah, he's a good antagonist.
But I mean,
he's fantastic. I'm joking.
Yeah.
You wanted to see more of it. You want to be like, what the hell is this white dragon up to? You know, because he's the only one. Like all the white supremacists that were with him started taking the bait, and he was like, "Fuck that! I know what you're doing. You're trying to make it look like we attacked you.
We attacked
you know?
So you can kill us." I also love that, just going back a little bit, I love the scene where John Cena goes into the house, into like the interdimensional whatever pocket storage area, and Vigilante follows him in there, and he has that wonderful moment. And John Cena's great, just great in this moment, where he picks up the helmet that he's like, I think this can help me, which I think is the X-ray helmet, right? So he can see inside of people to see if they have butterflies in them. Yeah. And then just like does what everyone else would do. Why don't you take all the helmets? And he's like, shit, yeah, you're right. He just starts throwing all the helmets into the bag. I would have taken all the tech myself, but then you've got that great moment where Vigilante like looks up and he sees the white dragon costume and it's exactly like his costume. He's like, oh, you gotta be careful. There's weak spots there in between the plates, which I have to imagine was a little bit of an homage to like Nolan's Batman, right?
Also set up for the future.
Maybe set up for the future. Yeah, I guess that's probably true. Yeah.
I love the duck in the human costume joke was just so good to me.
So that's one for me that I was like, this doesn't work.
Really?
And then when you get to the end and you just see the full improv that John Cena did, I was like, all right, I'm giggling now.
Dude, John Cena is a gift to humanity. Like those type of scenes where whether it's improv or a script that he's reading off, like those absurd monologues, whatever it is, he nails them with such conviction that I just don't understand how somebody could act that way. Because like John Cena is always that weird balance of like, is he a good actor or is he just good at being John Cena? And I think that Peacemaker is proof that John Cena is a fucking fantastic actor. He is really, really good at nailing lines and hitting things where I don't think a lot of that was improv. I think it was him kind of like acting out a scene, and they just cut it earlier because they didn't want it to run that long, but they still wanted to show us, and I appreciate that.
Well, either way, it's impressive, right? Because if it is improv, kudos to John Cena's improv chops, and if it is the lines, like he's nailing the mark. And I would say, like, I got a lot of respect for the guy because it's easy being a goofy sort of sidekick, like he was in what was the one with the parents where he had to go find the kids?
Cock blockers,
right? I think he kind of filled that specific like role in that a little bit easier. But he's a lead in this. And I really do think he's spread his wings, and I think he's put a lot of time and effort, and he's carrying scenes a lot better than he ever has. I still wouldn't go out on a limb and say he's a great actor yet, but I'd still think he dip more into like he's better at being John Cena than he is anything else. But I definitely think he's getting there.
I would before we move on though, let me tell you about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Sticking to your New Year's resolutions can be hard, but if you're focusing on saving money by ordering less takeout, learning to cook, or prioritizing your wellness, smashing your goals is a piece of cake with HelloFresh. HelloFresh has endless options to make cooking at home simple and enjoyable by delivering pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm-fresh produce that arrives within a week. HelloFresh has 50 menu and market items to choose from every single week, including some more family-friendly or gourmet choices. Kevin Coelho, Paula Coelho, they've been loving HelloFresh. They, of course, Paula being a vegetarian, like the options of having the vegetarian stuff, and they've been having some fantastic meals over there in their Coelho household. Go to HelloFresh.com/KindaFunny16 and use code KindaFunny16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/KindaFunny16 and use code KindaFunny16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Greg Miller.
I would say, I mean, good, great is a different, I guess, spectrum of it, but like, for me, it's not the Peacemaker moments of him being full blown Peacemaker that make me go, oh man, that's when he's being John Cena. He's being, a lot. He's being goofy. It is like that. What we're talking about, this final scene from this episode for him, right? Of him getting drunk and just rocking out and then falling down in like I guess, fear and hurt in his eyes, let alone then to, when he's crying on the bed, let alone then when he's like trying to defend why in this from episodes ago, from this episode, trying to defend to Vigilante why he loves his dad or why he won't kill his dad. Like, that's the stuff where I'm like, oh, he's doing something that's dimensional with this character that isn't the Suicide Squad Peacemaker. That was, I'm John Cena, look at my cock and my tidy whities, look, I'm saying crazy stuff and my, that's cool shit. Everyone wants to see cool shit or show off cool shit when it's cool shit. Damn, that's right.
Yeah, I feel you. And on that, like, I will dial that back a little bit because those scenes really, I think, are the standout moments for him.
They're really strong, yeah.
I think he's really, really, really strong in those. And yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, again, you look at John Cena from the Marine versus John Cena now, and it's night and day. I mean,
Did you watch the Marine?
Hell, I saw the Marine in theaters, bro. You tell me? Oh, I love the Marine, man. It's kudos to the man because he's carrying this and he's got my vote. I want to see more seasons of this. I want to see this thing continue, and I want to see more episodes of it for sure.
Yeah, I really liked the line where him and Vigilante were talking about Peacemaker's dad, and he was saying like he's racist, but I still love him, and I feel like that scene was so good and so thematically relevant to like what this show is trying to say.
Yeah.
But to really kind of put yourself in James Gunn's shoes as him writing this show in between all of the Disney going into DC, going back to Disney, like all of that stuff, that being followed up with Vigilante responding to him and in kind of like a very quick Vigilante-esque character turn of him being like, yeah, my parents did kind of like my dad turned gay because of this, whatever. Like, it is him immediately being like, John Cena's character, I trust you implicitly. Like, you are right. And like, I respect you, even though I think you're wrong about things. Like, I respect you. And I think those two like kind of dialogue bits back to back is really representative of James Gunn kind of just being like, look, there's layers to all of this in any which way. And there's a lot of problematic elements, even for positive things, even when something is clearly wrong. And like, let's just take a second to like appreciate that, like, connections between people like really matter and can affect you and who you are and all that stuff. And I just thought that was really good. And I didn't expect it to be that on the nose and to hit as hard as it did. Well, and to like be backed up with like relevant themes where we're literally talking about some of like the worst villains we've ever seen in anything in the form of the White Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, and on that note, like, I think that that conversation between them had a lot of subtext, and I like that John Cena doesn't explain it away in any rationale other than he's my dad. Right?
Yeah,
like that's it. I love him. Like, and it's you understand that, you get it. I mean, the guy is an irredeemable person, but he's family, and I think that speaks to the character's goodness. Where he's like, there's just something in there that I still love because he's my dad, and I can't stop loving him, right? Even though he's just a despicable character, even though I recognize that. And and he's starting to recognize those traits, obviously, in himself. We have the moment with him in Hardcore where he has this heartwarming moment with her where he's like, what happened? What's in my dad's file? Like, he doesn't want everyone to know, or what's in my file. He doesn't really want everyone to know what happened when he was a kid, because it was an extraordinarily traumatic event. And then, of course, as he's leaving, he puts that shield back up and has to hit on her and make this horrible sexist comment about her, and she kind of rolls her eyes.
But even that comment, your tits look stellar in that shirt, and I mean that as a compliment. I don't mean it in a sexist way. Like, it's such James Gunn writing, which again, it's kind of just like, it makes us laugh because it's inappropriate. But the use of the word stellar, like, that's what separates James Gunn to me from other people. It's like he just knows the right words to make us laugh, even if it's saying something that is making us laugh for the wrong reasons. I feel like more often than not, there is a layer to it of actual comedy being added that I like a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Here's my question for you guys. A, what do we think happened to the brother? And is that relevant to the story now? And B, what the heck's going on with the butterflies?
I think, if I may, with the brother, it seems like the dad pinned them against each other, right? That's what I
And the
assumed.
kid. Yeah, but he was having a seizure,
And-
right? He was having some sort of like.
Well, I think he probably got knocked down, hit his head, and
Oh, no.
went had a seizure, and now his dad blames him for it, kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, oh, you killed the perfect child. But I also think that like
That's interesting though, Kev. Like to question that, and just I don't think that I'm right about this, but I thought that that's what they were kind of setting up before we actually saw what happened. So I thought it was more like that. Yeah, he pit him against him. He was involved, but like, is he actually involved at all, or was he just there?
Because it looked like there was other kids around, right? And I don't know if they were watching the fight or if like they got picked on by other kids or something like that. And John Cena's characters like couldn't stop them from beating his brother's ass or something like that.
Was there other
I don't
kids?
know.
do we know that
I thought there
I'm
was
trying
other
to
people
rewind it
around.
and look
Yeah.
at it.
yeah?
I thought they
do
were
we
on like
know-
a fishing trip. Like to me, it seemed. For
Damn,
some
we all
reason,
remember this completely differently.
Yeah, I thought.
Well, I
There's
mean,
the fishing
it
trip's
is.
the image. No, there's definitely other people around. There's definitely other people.
Okay.
around.
It's very short though, the interaction, right?
Yeah, well, this is definitely exactly what they want. It's an the teaser for next episode.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be that they are squaring off, and I don't know if it's him fighting Peacemaker or if it's Peacemaker on the sidelines that you're talking about, but it's definitely people around cheering in like a pit or around a pit as they
Yeah,
fight.
that's that's what I thought. It looks kind of like a dirt pit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious if maybe they were fighting each other, or I mean, maybe Kevin was right. Yeah, maybe looking at that context, maybe they are fighting each other, and he just was not supposed to win. Maybe he was his dad.
Yeah, I think
pinned against each other,
that
he
I
wasn't supposed to
believe
win.
that. Yeah, again, dad didn't like him, made him fight each other, or they fight for trying to get his
Right.
attention.
And then, of course, there's that other gut wrenching scene we touched on a little bit, where he's just like thinking about how he had to kill that guy. His dad with the amazing mullet made him kill. this poor
Amazing
guy,
mullet.
just great mullet, just a Joe Dirt level mullet. Which I think Tim, if you're asking, yes, of course, that is my 100% for mullets as far as I'm concerned. Joe Dirt.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the top. A wig, just so you know, canonically a wig.
Bad wig. Yeah, bad
It's
wig.
Mullen Mullets with Nick Scarpino.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mullen Mullets. Shout out to Robert Patrick for just rocking that hair. Just show me what old age can look like with a whole lot of finasteride, which is the hair pill. What about the butterflies? What do we think they're going to be? What is our prediction for butterflies?
I mean,
So I think you want to present. Go for it, Kev. Go for it.
oh, I'm just gonna say like they're here to just live, like whatever their planet got exploded or something. They're like migrants or something, immigrants to Earth, and I think that we're kind of like aggressively hunting them for maybe not the right reasons. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. Greg, any thoughts?
This is the one that's recontextualized everything, right? Because like I was not 100% set, but I thought it was going to be a Mr. Mind tie-in, because remember at the end of Shazam they show him, and then when they in episode 1, I think it is, at one point it might be when we're going into the apartment John Cena's just had sex with the girl or whatever, they pan past a tree and there's a bit they linger for a second on a green worm like guy on a tree branch, and that's when it is the woman's house, and the woman goes crazy and starts fighting. And I was like, oh, okay. But then it turned out to be the butterflies, and I was like, oh, okay. But then like, remember too,
caterpillars turn into what, Greg?
Butterflies. And there's the thing we've seen too of when Cena finally opened the little trophy and it looked like a little ship, that like a little thing, and I was like, oh well, that's how Mr. Mind came to America, Earth. But the problem is like, it just doesn't seem like if it's not vibing with me, because like, if they're good, why would it be a Mr. Mind thing, right? And maybe they're not good, maybe it's another swerve or whatever. But the fact that like, it was a, judo's like, it's not what you think it is, which we think it's bad, so it's probably good. Like, okay, are they here then to try to, like you said, are they refugees? Are they here to try to keep Earth from killing itself, kind of thing? Earlier too, like Insect Queen had been kicked around a lot. I was like, that makes sense too, but like, not for that angle. So I don't know. It could still be Mr. Mind thing. It could be, they could be led here, because they know Mr. Mind's here. I don't know.
That's interesting. Something I want to put out there that I don't necessarily think is going to be the case, but could be with how they set this up. So the twist of having Murn be a butterfly got all of us. We didn't see that coming. The fact that Waller's daughter, what's her name? Leota. The fact that she like shot Judo Master, like when she did and how she did, it kind of leads me to believe like she might know more than she's letting on, or not, but like that timing was a little coincidental to me, that I wouldn't be surprised if, because of her mom and because of whatever, she is more involved in the butterfly stuff than we think.
We also do have a moment where she's on the phone with her mom, right? I don't remember this episode passed, but she's like, I don't understand why we don't just tell them. And she's like, don't worry about that. Like we're like, we got our plan kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So it seems like obviously no one's talked to Peacemaker about it, but I think that the three of the people that are still in the team that aren't Leota, like they're being lied to too.
Okay.
Oh, lots of questions.
Yeah,
It's great.
no,
I love
it's
it. I
fun.
love being on it. Yeah.
Question I have for you, for everybody, but for Greg specifically, the one of the funniest jokes of the episode to me was John Cena kind of interrupting Vigilante in the beginning, be like, "Oh, it's like this one time where blah blah blah," and he like kept
The matter
telling the
eater
story.
lad?
Yeah, that, and then it was just like, why are you being distracted? That was hilarious to me. Who is he saying? I needed subtitles because
Matter eater lad. So like a lad that would eat matter.
okay,
Which I don't. Was he in Suicide Squad?
No.
Or was that just a
No.
reference to a random thing?
No.
That was a
he
random
wasn't.
thing.
Yeah, it's another James Gunn's bread and butter of like here's a D-list DC super hero, right? He was Legion of Superheroes, right? And like
Yeah, that's
really stupid. There he is. Yeah, that's like the most iconic image of him for sure.
Yeah, I looked that up and I giggled. I saw that same
Yeah.
image come up and I giggled about
It's
it.
a
And
good
he's
one.
like,
Need
he
a
had a whole
Wendy's.
Wendy's.
that's so funny. I kept hearing what I wrote down my notes was man eater lad.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no.
what?
No, matter
Okay,
eater.
no.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I rounded back a couple times to grab that too. And again, some of those scenes, some of that comedy and that stuff gets a little bit rushed with the delivery and things like that, which is we're evolving as we evolve with these characters. But
it does make it feel to me more conversational.
yeah. I do
Yeah.
think that there's like every now and again with a lot of these shows, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just slowing down on myself, but you see a lot of these characters. I just want the director to be like, let's do one more take, slow that down just a little bit.
You're getting old.
Just
You're getting old.
enunciate it just a little bit because you're starting to rush through these lines so much. And it happens in all of these shows for some reason. There's always one moment where I'm like, I wish you had another take on that because it was a good line, but you rushed right through it.
Two things I really liked about Vigilante were him just driving in glasses. There was something about that made me laugh. And like, I think that's another example of like James Gunn just knows what's funny. It's like this one dumb little thing that like just adds to the ambiance of it all.
Yeah.
But him getting caught just as a dude out of costume, being called out that you're Vigilante and him starting to use a different voice. It's like, it's so funny that
His
I don't know
little
how we're
panics.
this far into superhero stuff, comedic or otherwise. And like, the idea of a superhero using a different voice in his normal life, it's like a fresh take. Like that's pretty funny.
Ridiculous. Oh god, I had one more thing I want to talk about. I can't remember now. Everyone, no, don't say a thing. Anyone, sit in silence.
Everybody, shut up.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Those glasses that he wore and his hair reminded me of Night Owl from Watchmen when he got in a costume. He looked a lot.
He
like
definitely
that.
had like, or what, late 80s, early 90s dad vibes of like what you like a Danny Tanner. Rest in peace.
Oh, R.I.P. Bob Saget.
Yeah. Talking about Vigilante, I really like him, and I think overall I lean on the side of like he's my dude. I get why there's some hesitation with him, and I think because of how close he is to Ryan Reynolds' performance of Deadpool and how similar like the costume and like not seeing a face and all that stuff is. But like honestly, I really think that he does a very good Ryan Reynolds-ish take on this character. That's a hard thing to pull off, and I think that Ryan Reynolds is just so 10 out of 10 at it that it can kind of like make us feel like, oh, it's a little derivative and it's not as good. But like I actually think Vigilante's really, really good in this for the most part. And like that's, I mean, the same thing I could say about Deadpool, but like I really like this actor, and like I don't know who the hell he is, but I'm impressed by his performance so far.
Kevin
like,
knows
the
him.
more I'm seeing it. Oh, what do you know him from?
Tell him, Kev.
Don't say Succession. Does everyone in Succession?
Tell him, Kev.
I don't remember what you're talking about, Greg.
Harry Potter. He's in Harry Potter.
Is he?
Oh, he's in Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Who's in Harry Potter?
According to IMDb, Cormac McLagan.
Oh, I actually do remember that kid.
That's weird.
Who is he?
That's he's from the party when they go to the Slughorn things, right? That's the guy that wanted to take
he's one of the
Hermione on a
kids
date.
in the menagerie, whatever it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Tim,
No, I
remember.
think
Come on, you remember.
Come on, Tim.
Come on.
Tim,
come on.
I think Vigilante gets the benefit of the doubt for me because I don't have any context for the character whatsoever. So to
I
me,
don't
it's
think
just
anyone
like,
does.
he's super D-list, like not even a real character to me. So we're starting from scratch, which is why like Obviously, there's just way less importance on that character, but he's grown on me. I'm not gonna lie, he has grown.
Yeah,
on me.
no, I definitely dig him, and every episode I like him more. And I think this is a great episode for him. The one thing, and this is not to take away from Freddie Stroma's performance whatsoever, and this is strictly for such a small percentage of the audience, let alone people watching you guys right now. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I would have loved to have seen the Danny Mac audition of this.
Oh my god!
Like he strikes me
Danny
so
would've
much as
been
Danny Mac
great.
from Heel Kick.
Yeah.
Whoa.
One of our friends of the show.
That's really funny.
Really good.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
Everybody
I do
Google
love
that.
how much John Cena dancing we get in this and continue to get in this. I also love seeing seeing a shot of Peacemaker. God, not Peacekeeper, Peacemaker. It's gonna be
Peacemaker.
the rest of our lives. Seeing him out of costume was jarring and weird. Like, we've seen him in his costume so much, we've seen him in his underwear so much, but seeing him in just like a
Regular
jacket
people
and a
clothes, yeah.
t-shirt
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
bar, I was
Those
just
are
like,
fair.
this feels fucking weird. But like, I love that he wears his costume that much in normal situations that seeing him out of it is like awkward as hell.
Well, it was also interesting when he was out of it, right? Like he changed out of his costume to go to the bar to talk to Hardcore about that one very important thing. And so he kind of let his armor down, let his guard down a little bit there to come hat in hand and ask about that. And she, I think, lied to him probably. But yeah, that was a good scene for sure.
And we haven't even talked about the pinky toe stuff really.
Oh, that
Like,
was a
it
question I
brought
had
up
for
a little
Kevin.
bit.
Kevin, can you walk without your pinky toe?
I don't know. I think so.
I'm shocked you don't know the
I
answer.
should
I'm a
have looked
little
into
let down,
that.
Kev.
Yeah.
Boo, Kevin.
I think you can. It just hurts.
I love how much like random things just keep coming back in the show. Like, oh yeah, that kid was so homely. Like that is just like that's so fucking funny.
But he was like, it actually made it worse because I started
Yeah.
feeling bad for the kid.
Yeah, but like that's so funny. But the various ways the pinky toe joke kept coming back in this episode was so fucking funny to me. Where it's just like, yeah, you might fall down, and then everyone's gonna laugh at you. It's like that's just
And
so
then John
fucking
Cena starts
good.
laughing. And even and the sadness of that conversation back and forth of the codependency that he's got with Peacemaker, where he's just like it starts just agreeing with him, where he's like, yeah, I mean, he's like, be careful when he gets arrested by the cops. He's like, I have an injury here. It's my pinky toe. I could definitely walk without it, but I just want you guys to know there is an injury here to be aware of. That was kind of sad.
You definitely can walk without it. It's fine.
That's what I figured.
But like, I feel like had they acted quickly enough, they could have definitely gotten sewed back on because it was only
sewed
half
back on.
off.
I don't think it fell out. I think he was just like, last time we saw it was just bloody.
I don't think that he gets proper medical treatment. Like he's
No,
just hanging
definitely
out.
not.
Like
Not in that ex-convict story they're hanging
maybe when he gets arrested, if he makes a big deal about it, they'll be like, we have to do something about this.
Yeah, well, if
But,
he
like,
if he
I
puts
kinda-
blood, they have to at least sew it up, right?
Because
I
they
have to
get you
imagine they
naked,
gotta-
right?
Yeah, they definitely delouse you and they put things in you and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Also, Nick, the guy that I was thinking about, he was also the Quidditch like captain.
Was he the Quidditch captain? That's
Yeah.
the same guy?
I don't know if this is the same guy. It might be. He was definitely part of the Slughorn 12. I just made that part up. The Slughorn
I
12.
just feel like, yeah, no, he was in the 7th one. But maybe, no. Because that guy had a hardcore Scottish accent in the first one. The Quidditch captain was like, I gotta give you the bludger, and the quaddage.
Yeah, you're
Remember?
right.
So
Yeah,
how did
you're
this guy
right.
Maybe Greg's crazy, dude. I think Greg's crazy. I don't think this kid's ever been.
Well, I mean, I'm
IMDb
mixing-
would be
I'm mixing
crazy,
people
all right?
up.
Not
I'm
me,
mixing
ladies
people
and
up.
gentlemen.
One of my favorite lines in this that wasn't a joke, but just like as a thing that I've never heard said in this way before, and like I really liked, was her being like, "You ain't killing it right now." When Vigilante was like doing it, like talking and shit, I just thought that was like really, really funny. And like I liked Leota in this episode more than I've liked her in the rest of the show, and I've enjoyed her so far. Like this episode to me elevated everybody. So
Yeah.
good for you guys. Can't wait for next week.
Holy shit.
Even
it is him.
Ecoms,
Diebeard.
Diebeard.
Oh,
Because they like Ecoms gets the shit beat out of him. You know why walk away? People need to zip tie people. If you're in a situation where you've captured
Gina
an
Master's gonna get
unstoppable
right.
killing machine, zip tie him as much as possible. You know what I mean?
the last thing I want to say before we end the show here is I just love the idea that Judo Master was like kicked to shit now twice and like one of the times shot and is just being like brought back. Like from near death. Like, I hope they just keep this going where Judo Master just keeps fucking
All it takes
almost
is a bag
dying.
of saline and he's fine.
Yeah,
I love it.
so fucking funny.
I mean, I
But
think
let's
that's
know in
where
the
we're going
comments
to.
below what you think about Peacemaker episode 4. We'll return next week for episode 5. And remember, we're doing the Book of Boba Fett as well. And every cool movie trailer that comes out, we're going to be doing reactions right here on youtube.com/kindafunny. Write in your thoughts about all of these shows, all these trailers, all these movies, everything at kindafunny.com/screencast. And we'll talk about them later. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.